marriage. Courtship is a relationship between a man and a woman in which they seek to determine if it is God's will for them to marry each other. And I also said, courtship is the period to really find out if the two of you are meant for each other. That is, if you are compatible. And I said, can two work together unless they agree, says the Bible. We also looked, don't forget that we looked at the difference between dating and courtship. Dating and courtship. I don't want you to get confused. Dating and courtship. Dating is step one of the relationship, and courtship is step two on the road to marriage. Number two, courtship is the higher form of relationship. It is the period that is closer to the real marriage. And dating is the period before courtship. I hope you are okay. And you are revising your notes. I also said that dating is a little more than friendship. And the friendship is maintained until both parties are ready to commit to each other as potential marriage partners. We also looked at what do you do during courtship. What do you do during courtship? Number one, you introduce yourself to your pastor and the church leadership. Number two, it is time to introduce each other to both parents and siblings. Number three, time to know and meet each other's friends. So in other words, at this time, you should really go public with the relationship. You can't keep the relationship a secret anymore. Number four, you meet your counselors and you start counseling. Number five, what do you do during courtship? Prayer. Courtship is a period of prayer. It is not a time to just eat and sleep. It is a time of prayer. Number six, going to church. And I explained that last week. Going to church, you encourage each other to go to church. If you belong to two different churches, this is a time to visit each other's church and see what you are going in for. Number seven, get involved with church activities together. Number eight, you can take up a project together. When I talked about project, I didn't talk about opening bank account. I didn't talk about buying a car together. I didn't talk about building a house together. I explained all the projects last week. If some of them are buying phones together. So if you missed my teachings last week, please go to Sam Crunchy-Ankra Facebook or to YouTube. You will get the message there. Number 9, Christian entertainment programs. Please underline it. Christian entertainment programs. Don't go and look and watch worldly films where they are having sex and they are kissing. Once you watch people kissing, you would want to practice it. You'll be tempted to do it. So Christian entertainment programs, and then dinner and lunches together. dinner and lunches together. If you don't have money to go to a big restaurant, nobody is sponsoring me, so I'm not mentioning the name of any restaurant. If you want to go to restaurants and you have your money, you can go to a big restaurant, or a chop bar is equally good. And I mentioned Champion because Champion sponsors us. You can walk to Champion. If you have 20 Ghana cedis, both of you can have a good meal and take away home. Last week we ended off by looking at what do you talk about during courtship. What do you talk about during courtship? And I said courtship is a time to talk. It is a time to chat. It is a time to communicate. It is a time to converse. A healthy courtship has strong communication. Many marriages are broken because they did not talk enough during the courtship. My darling, you better talk than regret. And don't try to sweep things under the carpet. It won't help your relationship. What to talk about? What to talk about? So in other words, what do you talk about during courtship? Number one, and I hope you have your notebooks and your pens ready if you want to make notes. Or you have your laptop, or you have your iPad with your fingers ready to type. Number one, talk about your past lives. Talk about your past lives. And I can hear somebody at home doing or Talk about your past lives. The schools you attended. And don't lie about it. Don't say you went to Oxford or you went to Cambridge, when in actual sense you went to Oxford Primary and Cambridge Preparatory. One is, I don't know, Matayeko Kokomemle. One is a Kokomemle, and one is going to Odoko in Accra. Please, if you went to preparatory, Cambridge Preparatory, and Oxford Preparatory, please tell him or her. Don't just shorten it and say I went to Cambridge. Define the Cambridge and define the Oxford. Talk about how growing up was like. It is very important. How growing up was like. Talk about your past relationships. Talk about your past relationships and why the relationship didn't end in marriage. Talk about your past relationships. It's very important. I remember when I met my husband, I told him about my past relationships. I didn't hide it. I didn't hide it. I told him about it. Then, later on in the marriage, I met somebody and I wanted to crack a joke with the person. I mean, it was a mere joke. But the person took it serious. And I said, I should have been Mrs. So-so and so. I mean, it was a joke. I was meeting the person for the first time. I was told this is Mrs. So-so and so. And her husband used to be a very good family friend. I mean, their family and our family were very, very good family friends. We grew up together. And when he was in upper six, I'm not talking about, in those days we had upper six and lower six. I'm not talking about the primary school upper six and lower six. I'm talking about secondary school. In those days we had 5 years of secondary school, and then you go to lower six and upper six. So when he was in upper six, I should have been around class 4 in those days. I mean, the gap between us was wide. But anytime he saw me, he would say, "Oh, my wife." So then I saw his wife years later. I was already married. And I said, "Oh, I should have been Mrs. So and so." And she took offense, told a friend. And the friend said, "This is a very serious situation. This is a very serious thing. We need to tell her husband about it." Then I was Mama Rita. We had started IBWC. So they came to see my husband. So when they mentioned it and mentioned the name, my husband straight away said, No, I know my wife. This one was a joke. I know everybody she went out with, those who came into her. I know all. No. She hasn't mentioned this name. So I am very sure that this one was a joke. My darling, sometimes you need to talk about these things. If I hadn't spoken to my husband about it, it would have been like I was hiding something away from him. Because the way the people came to attack, it wasn't easy. I learned my lesson. Since that time, I don't joke by heart. Talk about your past relationships and why the relationships didn't end in marriage. Talk about your past relationships and why the relationship didn't end in marriage. Have you been married before? You need to let him or her know. Do you have children somewhere? Do you have a child or children somewhere in the village somewhere or scattered somewhere? Please, let him or her know. Listen carefully. Did you commit any abortions that got complicated and might affect your chances of having children? He needs to know. Do you have any sickness that your partner needs to know? Do you have any sickness your partner needs to know? Don't spring a surprise later in the marriage. And in talking about your past, don't let everything happen in a day. That is, if your past is really a past, do it small. Because some of the past, do it small. Some of the past is really past. So do it small. Let the shock be small. Number 2, talk about children, your future children. Do you like to have children? Or you don't want to have children? You'll be surprised. I met a lady who said she never knew until they got married that the husband didn't want children. Anytime she was pregnant, the man will not talk to her for about a year. I'm talking about Ghanaians. The guy will not talk to her for about a year. When she has the child, the guy will never come to the hospital. The husband never had a relationship with the children. I wasn't surprised when much later they divorced. So find out, does she want children? Does he want children? How many children do you want to have? What will be the spacing between your children? Talk about it. Would IVF, adoption, and surrogate children be an option if the need arises? IVF, adoption, IVF, where you marry for a while and you can't be pregnant. So this first, how do I put it? They first take the eggs out and then get your husband's sperm. It used to be called the test tube pregnancy or the test tube baby. So they put your husband's sperm and your eggs outside of your womb. And then after a while, when they think that, everything will be okay, they put your eggs back in your womb. Adoption is where you go to a children's home and then get a child. Surrogate is where the woman can't get pregnant. She can't get pregnant. She can get pregnant, but she can't carry a baby. So what they do is they take the woman's eggs, take the man's eggs, but then another woman carries the pregnancy. It is allowed, it is legal. So you need to talk about all these things if the need arises. Talk about the schools you want your children to attend and start discussing their names. Start discussing their names. It is very important. Number 3, contraceptives. Talk about contraceptives. You need to discuss about the use of contraceptives. Last week or last 2 weeks ago, somebody asked a question. She's wearing a loop. She's having issues with the loop. She wants to remove the loop, and the husband says no. So these are things you need to discuss during courtship. Do you believe in contraceptives? What technique of contraception do you think you'll be using? What technique would you be using? If you don't know much about contraceptives, number 1, talk to your counselors about it. Number 2, get FPP. Get FPP. FPP is family planning personnel. Get a family planning personnel. So get a FPP. Or visit the reproductive health center. That's a family planning clinic. So you can discuss with your counselors. You can get a FPP or visit the reproductive health center. Let them talk to you about the different contraceptives there are. I've long passed it. So now I don't know the current ones there is, but I think that I need to go back and do a study on the current ones that there is on the market now. So discuss all these things during courtship. Number 4, house helps. House helps. Talk about house helps. Talk about house helps. Talk about if both of you will want or need a house help. That is if you are in Africa. If you are in Europe, you are in America, getting a house help doesn't come easy. So you need to learn now. But if you are in Africa, it's something you can afford. So talk about house helps. What kind of house help do you want? Is it a maid or a houseboy? Is it a maid or a houseboy? Or just a house cleaner who comes in once or twice in a week to clean up and go? You need to talk about it. You also need to talk about at what stage would you need a house help? At what stage? Some couples will not need a house help until when the children start coming in. So you need to talk about all these things. Do you need a house help? What kind of house help do you need? A maid that is a female or a houseboy that is a boy? Or you need just a cleaner? And at what stage would you need the house help? Number five. Talk about household chores. Talk about household chores. My darling, you need to talk about it. Don't assume that the man will be pounding the fufu. Don't assume. Talk about it during courtship. When the love is high up there, talk about it. Don't wait to get into the marriage before you talk about house chores. You need to talk and find out about your partner's views of household chores and duties. What are their expectations? What are the expectations? What are they expecting? What is the understanding of certain roles and responsibilities they perceive as gender bias? Who will be doing the cooking? Don't assume it's a woman, please. Who will be doing the cooking? Is it the woman, the man, or both? Or your mother will be cooking and carrying it to you every weekend? Is it the woman, the man, or both? Some men are very good cooks. Some men are very good cooks and they love to cook. If you're a good cook, let nobody come and insult you that you've made yourself Kojo Besia. Kojo Besia is a woman in the house. You're a man, but the woman has made you the woman. Is somebody listening to me? If you're a very good cook and you love to cook, I mean, some men naturally love to cook. I met a man outside the country. It was the first time I had seen a thing like that. I mean, the man just loves to cook. If he's traveling for 2 months without the wife, he will make sure he will prepare meals, 2 months meals, and put it in the freezer for the wife. The apple. You, the way I see your face, you don't know how to do anything. You don't even know how to boil egg. So if the man is the one doing the cooking because he's better at cooking and he loves to cook, the woman can take care of other responsibilities in the home. And I believe in the man knowing how to cook and cooking sometimes. Assuming you are married freshly. The lady gets pregnant, honeymoon. Her pregnancy is like mine. Vomiting, spitting, first 4 months, getting sick. What do? First 4 months of the pregnancy, she's throwing up. She's getting very sick. She can't stand the smell of food when she's cooking. When she goes to the kitchen, she throws up. She's spitting everywhere. What do? The man would have to take over the kitchen. And that is why I love my husband. But for the pain I used to go through during pregnancy, carrying babies, and then the labor pains, I'm telling you, I would have had 20 children. Hey! Because first 3 months in the marriage, first 3 months when I'm pregnant, I don't do anything. I lie down. Even when I'm not sick, I'll be doing And my husband will be doing banku and okra stew. He will be doing waka. Waka is pounding fufu alone. You are doing this and you are doing this at the same time. Prepare powerful groundnut soup. Hey! Sometimes his groundnut soup was more powerful than mine. And then when I deliver, first 3 months of delivery, I don't do anything. All I do is to bath, breastfeed, and take care of my baby. My husband will take over the kitchen. Aish! Breakfast, lunch, supper. Oh, honey, if you are listening to me, thank you. I should have more babies. I miss those times. Where I will cross my leg and my husband will be doing all the cooking. So, my darling, there's nothing like cooking is the woman's role alone. There comes a time in your home, not just pregnancy, not just having babies, but sometimes the woman is sick and there's nobody around. What do? Would you be hungry? Sometimes, if both of you are income earners, and you both go to work, sometimes the man should know he has to help around the house. Both of you are income earners. You both go to work. You don't expect to be married to a medical doctor. She goes to work, comes home at 8 p.m. and you still be waiting for her just to come and boil yam for you. Oh my God. And what annoys me about those men that don't know how to do anything, they are the ones that want fresh food every day. Come and marry me and see if you have fresh food every day. If over the weekend your lawyer wife, your doctor wife, she goes to work, she comes late, and over the weekend she's prepared sauces and soup. When you come over, you get home by 6 and she gets home by 10. At least boiling yam, boiling plantain, cooking some rice in the rice cooker shouldn't be too much for you. If your wife is a housewife and we will come there and you want fresh food every day, I don't have a problem. But not when both of you go to work. You leave home early. 5 o'clock you are up. By 7 you are out of the home. She comes home at 8 and you expect a fresh meal every day. My darling, she will grow older than you. When you are 40, she will be looking like she's 55. Are we okay? So sometimes the man should know he can help around the house. If he gets home first, he can start the cooking. When the woman comes, even if you don't know how to cook and you get home first, you can start cutting the onions, blending the tomatoes and the pepper, and let her come and do the mixing. Is a man out there listening to me? I can't hear you. If you're a man out there, I want to hear your voice. What men do not know, that these things make the marriage solid. This thing makes the marriage solid. It makes the woman revere you. You become precious in the eyes and in the sight of the woman forever. That is why I don't joke with my husband. Even when he offends me and I want to show him, I can't show him. Yesterday I told him that he's lucky I was coming to speak. I would have shown him. We are all sitting down. Your blood is not fresh. Your blood is not good. And mosquitoes are not chewing your legs. And me, I eat very good food. I take juices. I take fruits. I take veggies very well. And mosquitoes are chewing me. You say, why are mosquitoes chewing me? And there are no mosquitoes around. Oh my God. But you see, at the end of the day, you look at some of the very good things he does, like cooking, like helping tidy up. When we are watching television and I take a cup of tea and he realizes that I'm not getting up to take the cup into the kitchenette, he will just collect it, take it to the kitchenette. You will love the man. I mean, you can't help it. You will love him. Is somebody listening to me? If the man decides to help his wife with cooking and house chores, when your mother or your sisters come to visit and see you doing these things, they are going to put pressure on you and tell you your wife has turned you into a woman. Please don't succumb to the pressure. Serving each other in the house promotes a healthy marriage. This is why during the wedding, we make the man serve the woman and the woman serve the man communion. My darling, it's not a show off. It's not for the purpose of drama. It's not concert. It's not to create humor. But it is a time that we are teaching you to serve each other. And we are saying that after the marriage, let it continue. Let wife serve the woman and let the woman serve her husband. Number 6, in-laws. Number 6, in-laws. Talk about in-laws and their place in the marriage. Talk about in-laws and their place in the marriage. What are your views about in-laws? When the woman delivers, who comes to stay? Is it the man's mother or the woman's mother? Assuming the woman's mother is dead, is the woman ready to let her mother-in-law come over and stay and take care of the baby or the babies? These are things you must talk about. Instead of the woman's mother, are you ready for an aunt or a senior sister who is available to do that work? Sometimes I also tell young couples, if your mom is not available, your mother-in-law is not available, you can also talk to the pastor or the pastor's wife to get you some of the elderly women or the senior citizens in the church who are available to also help. Assuming that your mother-in-law is thrown out of her house or out of her home, she loses her home, are you ready to let her come and stay with you? You need to talk about it. Don't assume that as for this one is cocoa. Common sense must tell you, if my mother-in-law has lost their house, I'm available, she should come. Some people, some wives especially, don't understand it that way. And some husbands also don't understand it that way. You need to talk about it. I lived with my mother-in-law for 22 years. 22 years. I never had a quarrel with her. We never exchanged words. We never fought. Never. I was closer to my mother-in-law than my husband was closer to her mother. I took care of my mother-in-law better than my husband did. My husband didn't know what the mother-in-law was, what his mother was eating. He didn't know what the mother was wearing. From her scarf to her cloth to her slippers, I took care of all. No wonder today God is blessing me. And I want you to know that by covenant, if you get married, I want you to know that you have two mothers and you have two fathers. By covenant. Marriage is a covenant. So once you get married, by the covenant, you have two mothers. Once you see it that way, you have no problem. I knew that immediately I got married, I had two mothers and then I had two fathers. So once you know it that way, you will never have problems. Number 7, church denominations. Church denominations. What church would you be attending if you are from different churches? You need to talk about it. Is it his church or her church? Or each one will go to their own church? You can take your decisions, but these are a few guidelines I can offer. You can take your decisions, but these are a few guidelines I can offer. Normally, I advise that you join the church of the spouse who is active. Join the church of the spouse who is active. Join the church of the spouse who is active. And when I talk about active, I mean active. You are not a pew warmer. You don't go to church only during Easter. You don't go to church only during Christmas. You don't go to church only 31st. You go all the time. You are committed to the church. You belong to groups in the church. That is what we say the person is active. If the person, the spouse, is a pastor in a church, you can't definitely take him out of their church. You can't do that. If the person is a worship leader and you are not active in your place, please, leave your church and come and join her church. Recently, a lady came laughing at the husband. For what I am coming to say, I will mention the church. So the gentleman is a Catholic and insisted that the lady should follow her to the Catholic church. So the lady decided that this Sunday she was going to the man's church, to the Catholic church. So they went to church. And then they said, say, Hey Mary. You know, during the service, they were saying, Hey Mary, full of grace. The Lord is with you. Blessed are you among women. Looked at the man, and the man was chewing granuts. When we say you are chewing granite and the man couldn't say it. The man couldn't recite it. Meanwhile, the lady could recite everything from the beginning to the end. They said Apostles' Creed. The lady could recite everything from the beginning to the end. Apostles' Creed, the man didn't know what to say. Time to kneel down during the service, he didn't know. The lady knew. When they finished and they came to me, the woman laughed at the man. He said, look at you, I'm even more of a Catholic than you are. I know Hail Mary, I know our Father, I know Apostles' Creed, I know what to say, I know bidding prayer, I know everything. You don't know anything in the Catholic Church. You go to the Catholic Church once a year. Once a year, nobody knows. Even the father doesn't know him in the church. And yet you want her to follow you. I mean, that's not fair. Is somebody listening to me? So if the person is more active than you are, you have to join her. Or you have to join him. So you don't dislodge her giftings. She's very active in the church. She's a praise leader. She's a worship leader. She's a prayer leader. She's in charge of the in charge of the finances of the women's ministry. Yet at your place you go once a year. You are a pure woman. You don't have friends in the church. Nobody knows you in the church. The priest doesn't know you in the church. My darling, you don't belong to that church. Your name is only there. When you are not careful, even if you die, they won't bury you. However, I want you to listen carefully. However, some people don't mind they going to different churches. So once a while, when there's a program, they visit each other's church. Some people don't mind. Some people insist that we need to belong to the same church. Others don't mind. They say you can go to your church and I can also go to my church. Anytime you have a revival, I will come. Anytime we have a revival, I will come. You can also come. If we have a convention, I will come. If you also have a convention, if you have fasting, I will come. If you also have fasting. So some people don't mind. But the men, like I said, who are not active in their churches and are just pure warmers, should not force their spouses, their women, to move. Church can be a source of joy. Church can be a source of happiness for some people. During this lockdown, I am telling you, the number of depressed cases I handled. The number of depressed cases I handled. I had to be taking some people to the mental hospital. I had to be calling some pastors to carry some people to the mental hospital. I had to call certain people to go into certain homes and take certain people into the mental hospital. Yet when church was going on and they were coming, they were okay, nothing was happening to them. So church is a form of joy and happiness to a lot of people. Without church, they get sick. If you want your wife to enjoy her marriage with you, don't force her to follow you if she doesn't want to. Otherwise, she would always come home frowned and moody. I handled the case, and it was actually the gentleman who came to report the lady. The gentleman came and said, Mama Rita, after the marriage, my wife has changed. My wife has changed. She's so moody. She doesn't smile. When I talk to her, she throws words at me. We never sit down to have a meaningful conversation like we used to do. And I want you to call her and find out what the problem is. So I called both of them. The lady said, Mama, when we were courting, we both agreed he didn't want to leave his church. I also didn't want to leave my church. So we both agreed that he was going to go to his church and I was also going to go to my church. When he had programs, I will follow him to church. And when I also had programs, he will follow me to church. Now, after the marriage, you've allowed, he's allowed his parents to tell him not to allow me to go to my church. Said, Mommy, I will never be happy. I will never be the wife he wants me to be until he allows me to go to my church. So there and then, I said, okay, we are going to try an experiment. Go to your church. Let her go to her church. Just for 1 month. And see how things will be like. Hey! That 1 month, the lady was herself. The lady was always smiling. The lady was happy. By the time the man comes from work, the lady would have tidied the home, laid the bed, cooked, and oh my God. After 1 month, the gentleman came to me and said, Mommy, I have decided she must go to her church. And that now I see that I have a wife. 6 months after the relationship. No, it wasn't 6 months. I think a year after they got married. The man comes to me and says, I want to now join my wife to her church. I said, why? Said, Mommy, I don't want to confuse our children. And if going to my wife's church will make her very happy, make her submissive, make her respectful, make her do whatever I want, I will join her in her church. Today, the man is more active. The man is more active than the woman. So, these things are so real. Are you with me? Are you learning something tonight? I will finish it, but I want to make sure that we break a bit. I will do 1 point. We will break for commercials and then I will come back if that is okay with you. I will do the last point and then we will break for commercials and then I will come back and continue. I hope you're enjoying it. Number 8. Talk about where you would live after the wedding. Talk about where you would live or settle after the wedding. This is becoming a big issue now. If one person is in Ghana and the other person is abroad, where do you settle? In Ghana or overseas? I can hear somebody say, or the airport. Which criteria are we using for the movement? Which criteria are we using for the movement? Number one, we are looking at who is better established. Who is better established? If the person has a very good job in Ghana and the person abroad doesn't have a good job, it will not be wise for the person in Ghana who has a good job to resign and join the person who is abroad. I hope you get it. If the other partner is unwilling, in other words, assuming the one in Ghana has a very good job and the one abroad doesn't have a good job, and he's unwilling to come down to settle with you in Ghana, and I'm talking about during courtship. I am not talking about when you're already married. During courtship, when you talk about it and you realize that he's not willing to come down or she's not willing to come down, my darling, see it as a red flag and move on with your life. I have handled people. This point even saddens me. It really, really saddens me. I've handled people who had very, very good jobs. I mean, very good jobs. Very well-paid jobs. Met somebody overseas. And the person said, I'm not ready. Or the people said, we are not ready to come down. You must resign and come and join me abroad. They leave their very good paying job or jobs only to travel abroad to realize that who they were going to be married to were cleaners. Yes. 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 I'm not joking. I even handled one doctor who fell in love with somebody, and the person said, I work in the hospital. I'm not telling you jokes, so I work in the hospital. Resigned. Sold everything. Packed bag and baggage to join the man who works in the hospital. And the assumption is that if I'm a doctor and the one I have fallen in love with also works in the hospital, then the person must be a doctor, a nurse, a pharmacist, what else? lab technician. The lady gets to abroad. The first sign, the lady looked at the house and said, this one is not medicine house. This one is not lab house. This one is not nursing house. So that was the first shock. She didn't talk about it. The man will come home. Oh, and today my patients and this person and this person. Hey. Then they'll be discussing a few things. I mean, doctor versus doctor. They start talking medicine and you realize that 1 month, 2 months, 3 months, 6 months. And the gentleman still couldn't tell the lady exactly what he was doing in the hospital. So one day, the lady decided, let me go and look for my husband. Got to the hospital and said, I'm looking for Dr. Kweku. And the receptionist said, you said what? Dr. Kweku. Then saw the change on the lady's face. There was the only Kweku there. Saw the change. My darling, at the reception, whilst asking for Dr. Kweku, here was Dr. Kweku with a mob. And a mob bucket. I am not joking. I am not joking. This is a true story I am talking about. I know lawyers who left, going to join their spouses, and it was something else. We will go on break. I will break here. We will go on break. We will come back and I will continue.
Hey, my name is Pastor Emmanuel Agomeda. I am the senior pastor of Royal House Chapel, Grace to Grace Center in Maryland, USA. I am excited about the new broadcast on Powerline TV. Every Wednesday, 3 to 4 p.m., I'll be coming into your home wherever you are. So keep the dial locked on Powerline TV as I bring you powerful word from the Lord. Presence and the oil and the anointing will certainly move and enter into you, bring a turnaround in your life and cause you to walk in miracles, signs and wonders. God bless you.
Powerline ahwefo nyina nyame nhyira mu nyina. Powerline TV edi dwumedie bi ebrewo ewo mu fiefie mu ya to ne din se okristoni ene amamre. Okristoni woni mu amamre. Okristoni woni mu amane anase mpo se okristoni oye amane ne amamre. Siame dwada we ene dwada bia nonson pepepe na yenhia de wo Powerline TV so na obe yenhyira bebre nyame nhyira wo.
Welcome back. The break gave me an opportunity to sip some water. I will continue from where I stopped. So we looked at point 8. Talk about where you'd want to be, where you'd want to settle after the wedding. But once both of you are in Ghana, as for Ghana, depending on where accommodation pushes you. If the accommodation pushes you to Malam, you have to go there. So depending on where the accommodation pushes you, you move. For any reason, if one person will have to be transferred, both of you were in Accra, and one person will have to be transferred to maybe Kumasi, it's the same thing. You must weigh the odds. Who has a better job? If the one in Accra has a better job, and the one in Kumasi, it doesn't matter what she does or he does, the transfer must go on by all means. You need to take a decision. Are you resigning and staying in Accra and getting another job? Or the one in Accra, if the one in Kumasi who is being transferred to Kumasi has a very good job, paying job, the other one can move to Kumasi and get a job in Kumasi. So these are things you need to be talking about during courtship. Number 9. I love this one. Number 9. Talk and plan your wedding. Number 9. Talk and plan your wedding. Talk about the wedding. People do not know. The wedding time creates a lot of conflicts, tension, and misunderstanding between the couples. I can see somebody at home shaking her head or shaking his head. They've started planning for the wedding, and every day there's a fight. There are misunderstandings because there are clashes in opinions, in tastes, and different backgrounds. Opinions, tastes, and different backgrounds. While one party wants a small wedding, the other party wants a societal wedding. You can't come and marry any of my children and expect a small wedding. Our pastors in Ahimfie alone, my royal ladies executives alone, the uncles and the aunties. I'm not even talking about family. I haven't gone to the family. I haven't gone into the family. I'm looking at the aunties and the uncles in the church who saw them grow up, started crawling and walking and going to Sunday school and teen service. They would all want to come, whether we like it or not. A child of Apostle General can't have a small wedding, even if we want to. We will end up causing people to leave the church. So one party wants a small wedding, the other party wants a societal wedding. One party wants 10 bridesmaids, 10 groomsmen, 1 page boy, 2 flower girls, and the other one doesn't want anything. Bridesmaids plus matron of honor. The other person doesn't want anything. One wants a buffet. The other wants cocktail. What happens? And sometimes it's not even about the couples. is about the parents. I handled one lady. She called me early morning, crying. I said, what is it? It's my mother. My mother is giving me problems. Mama Rita, if you don't come in. I said, okay. So I scheduled a meeting. Invited Reverend Agre to come. Asked the lady to come with the fiancé. And then the mother. What did I say? What did I say? And the mother of the bride. Because she was the one causing problems. The man's mother didn't have a problem. So we didn't need the man's mother. All we needed was the woman's mother. The day of the meeting. Reverend Agre walks in. The bride to be and the groom to be walked in. Hey, by that time I realized first car had entered my house. Second car had entered my house. Third car, fourth car, fifth car. When the bride to be's mother was coming, she came with all her sisters. Then we started the meeting. I said, what is the problem? She said, Mommy, the wedding is my wedding. This is what I want. I want 200 people. My husband to be also wants 200 people. My mother says no. The woman didn't make the daughter finish. Mama Rita, I didn't have a wedding. All my sisters sitting here didn't have a wedding. This is our first wedding in the family. She is our queen, and we must celebrate our queen. Said Mama Rita, I am the chairperson of my officers union. I have gone to weddings of the wedding of the children of my colleagues. Now it's my turn. How can you say you are giving me 50 invitation cards? For what? So I said, so how many cards do you want? Mama Rita, I want 400 cards. I said, have you thought about the food and everything? Mama Rita, me and my sisters, we are ready. We are taking care of the buffet. So we started one after the other. So Mama Rita, she hasn't even told me where the reception is going to be. I said, so your mother says, where is the reception? Mention that. We don't want the place. The place is too small. Mama Rita, you know my position. You know my position in society. This person is coming. This person is coming. How can they disgrace me? So there, we changed the venue of the reception. I said, who is paying for it? The mother said, my money is ready. Then we talked and talked and talked and talked. Spoke about the gown. Then I went to look for trouble. I said, what are you wearing on Sunday? Then the lady said, because I'm wearing a gown on Sunday and Saturday, on Saturday, Sunday, I just want to wear a dress. A dress. Mama Rita, thank you for asking that question. Mama Rita, thank you for asking that question. Mama Rita, do you know the people who will be following me to church on Sunday? A dress. A dress. If your father had wedded me, I wouldn't be sitting here. It was concert. So, my darling, when you are going to have a wedding, you need to find out the groom. Did the mother have a wedding? Like me, at the wedding, did Fanta get finished? Did Achemo get finished? When Apostle General and I were having a wedding, minerals got finished. Achemo got finished. I told myself, during the wedding of my children, I will make sure I disgrace the devil. That devil that disgraced me, I will disgrace that devil. So, my darling, when it comes to these things, it's not just about the two of you. It's about the two of you and your parents. If your mother never had a wedding, trust me, the wedding she wanted, that day will be her wedding day. I had visited Mama Faith, and we had gone to the salon and we were doing our nails, and we had a paper and a pen. I would talk, then Mama Faith will write. I would talk, Mama Faith will write. So when our daughters are getting married, the gown, this is where we are getting the gown. Then she will write. The wedding cake, we are going for this tier of wedding cake. And then who will be doing the wedding cake? Then she will write. The flowers, some is coming from South Africa, some is coming from Holland, some is coming from, and then she will write. So the lady who was doing my nails asked, when is the wedding? We said, we don't know. We said, we don't know. And Mama Faith said, we haven't even seen the men, but we've started planning. When I got home, I told Mama Faith's daughter, Sipiwe, I said, Sipiwe, trust me, your wedding, you will have no say. It will only be deciding on the style of your gown. That is the only thing. From who is doing makeup, the food, the car, everything, trust me, it's your mother who will plan it. You need to know this right from the beginning. When the man comes, let him know that this is our position. The aunties are coming, like the woman came with all her sisters. So listen carefully. In planning for the wedding, you need to be on the same page. You must learn to adjust and meet each other halfway. You must be on the same page. You must learn to adjust. You must meet each other halfway. During these discussions, communications, and conversations during courtship, listen to me carefully. I can guarantee you that you won't always agree on the same things. You won't agree on everything in total. You must know this. But I want you to know that the fact that you won't agree will not be a sign of a red flag. Listen carefully. Some people lost very good men. Some people lost very good women. Some people separated just because they were talking about the wedding, planning for the wedding. There was no compromise. So I want you to know that you won't always be on the same page. What do you do? Flower girls, bridesmaids, groomsmen, wedding colors, and wine will not make the marriage. They only add fun and color. They don't make the marriage. They only add fun and color. So this should not separate you. This should not make you go your separate ways. Is somebody listening to me? The way you handle situations at this time tells your partner what you will be like in the marriage. The way you handle such situations will tell your partner what you will be like in the marriage. When there are disagreements, you don't scream. You don't raise your voice. You don't shout. I am the man. You don't get angry during discussions and walk off and put off your phone, and you don't pick your phone call from your partner for 3 days or 1 week. Don't try to always want to win an argument. By all means, it doesn't happen like that. Assuming you were discussing about bridesmaids, you discussed and you discussed and you discussed. After much discussion, the man agreed that you should have the 10 bridesmaids and the 10 groomsmen. And then you also started discussing about the reception. You want a buffet, the man wants a cocktail. My darling, the fact that the man decided or agreed with you to have 10 bridesmaids, 10 groomsmen, when it comes to the buffet, you must also agree with him. Otherwise, what you do is that you cut your numbers. If it's 10, you cut it to 5. Once you decide to meet the man halfway, certainly when it gets to the food, it gets to the reception, he would also want to agree with you or meet you halfway and decide, okay, if people will be willing to help us, your parents will be willing to help. I don't have the money for the buffet, but if people are ready to help with the buffet, I don't have a problem. So once you meet the man halfway, he would also want to meet you halfway. If you get to a place where you are not winning, my darling, don't get angry. You can't always win. Are we listening? This is why during courtship, we ask for prayer, prayer, prayer. Prayer, prayer, prayer. My darling, don't take things for granted. The devil is not happy you are getting married. The witches in your father's house and your mother's house are not happy you are getting married. Every time they would want to bring confusion. So that is why you pray about it. If for any reason there is something you are discussing and you don't come to a conclusion, you can't conclude in a day, leave it. Decide to pray about it. After you have prayed, you can come back after 3 days or 1 week and discuss the same thing. You'll be surprised, after you have prayed about a particular situation, how the Holy Ghost will now begin to bring peace. You say it, they agree. You say it, he agrees. You say it, she agrees. I mean, prayer can do everything. During courtship, my darling, I have said this several times. It is not a time for having sex. It is not a time for kissing. It is not a time to just think about wedding colors and number of flag girls and food and all that. It's not a time for that one alone. It calls for prayer. And I believe if you are praying about these things, both of you will win. If you believe it, say amen. Are we okay? The other bests or the other subjects I like very well. One is planning the wedding. Planning the wedding. I have seen people sit before me and break their relationship just because of planning of the wedding. The last one, finances. If you are getting married, I want you to listen carefully. If you are also married, I want you to listen. Finances. Talk about finances. Are you going to have a joint account? Are you going to have a joint account? What percentage do you both bring or contribute into the joint account? Are you going to have a joint account? What percentage do you both bring or contribute? Listen carefully. The majority of marriages that ended in divorce cited money as the number one culprit. I hope somebody is listening. The majority of marriages, if you take marriages that ended on the rocks, couples that got divorced, 80% will cite money as their issue or their problem. I heard so many things about money that before I got married, I told myself that money will never be an issue between my husband and I. And I say this to the glory of God. 34 years in marriage, we have never fought, we have never quarreled, we have never fought and quarreled over money. Talk about how the bills are going to be split. Find out how much he or she earns and how he or she spends their money. It is very important. It's something you should know during courtship. And I want you to know that since you come from different backgrounds, your approach to money will be different. Since you come from different backgrounds, your approach to money will be different. Here is what I always teach couples. To be couples, young guys courting, this is what I advise them to do. Keep a joint account. Keep a joint account for the upkeep of the house. The account is for utilities. It's for food. It's for school fees. It's for in-laws. It's for holidays. It's for projects. The joint account. It's for utilities. It's for school fees. It's for projects. How do you contribute? And this is where the problem is. How do you contribute? How do you contribute? You contribute 50-50. Listen carefully. You contribute 50-50. In other words, 50 of your salary or 50 of my salary. Or you contribute 60-40. 60% of your salary, 40% of my salary. Or you contribute 70-30. 70% of your salary and 30% of my salary. Or you can also contribute 80-20. 80% of your income, 20% of my income. Depending on whose salary is bigger. If you both earn the same, then you can contribute 50-50. If one person earns much more than the other, it will be unfair to say let's contribute 50-50. So between the two of you, you can decide who is the one that is earning more. If you're a bank manager and your husband is just a teacher, a public school teacher, certainly your salary will be much more than your husband. So depending on, the ratio, you can decide you are contributing 60 and then he brings 40, or 70-30, or 80-20. So this means that the man, not of necessity, have to pay more. I hope you are listening. If the man's salary is more, why not? The man can give 60, the woman gives 40, or 70-30, or 80-20. But then, if it turns the other way around, and the woman is receiving more, then the woman pays more than the man.
After you have contributed 50 or 60-40 or 70-30 or 80-20, what is left if I've contributed 50? The 50% that is left is mine. The 40% left is mine. The 30% left is mine.
Flowers. I can decide I want to use
I can decide I want to use it to change the wardrobe of my children, or to change my own wardrobe, or sponsor moral choir. I hope we understand. So this is what we do. The rest of the money is my money. I decide what I want to use the money for. This is what we call, give me the account term. Unaccountable interest. So what goes into the joint account can be. For some men, for some men, their salaries are so big. For some men, their salaries are so big that they can decide that they are contributing 100%. In other words, they are taking up all the bills in the house. He is paying school fees. He is paying water. He is paying electricity. If curtains had to be changed, it is him. Bolaman is coming, it is him. We want to go on a holiday, it is him. Some men decide that this is what they want to do. Their salaries are so big that they tell themselves, I don't need the contribution of the woman. It is also allowed. So, there's the first system of contribution. The first system of contribution is where we pay 50-50, 60-40, 70-30, 80-20, depending on whose income is higher. Then the second option is where the man wants to take care of the house 100%. Then there's a third option. There's a third option. There's a third option. The third option is where one person, listen carefully. The third option is where one person has to stop work and take care of the children and the house on full-time basis. The third option is where one person or one partner has to stop work to take care of the children and the house on full-time basis. And this one happens a lot abroad, where getting nannies are difficult. They take the children to daycare and it's always a problem. Or sometimes how much the nanny is charging is not worth it. So one person decides, or they both agree, that one person will have to resign and stay at home and take care of the children and the home. I hope you got it. In this case, the one who is working takes care of the house financially. The one who is working takes care of the house financially, and then also gives to the one who is a full-time home keeper an allowance every month. The one who is working. And I didn't say the woman. Why? Because in UK, in America, in Germany, in Holland, what I mean is abroad, Some women have better jobs and they have better incomes than the men. So then between the two of them, they decide that since she has a better job and a better income and a more stable job, she can continue to work and the man will resign, stay at home and take care of the children. Or he would have to be the one to drive the children to school, to pick them up from school in the afternoon, to supervise their homework, and then get them lunch or whatever. Some time ago, it was the job of the woman alone. And this is what we call the housewives. Now, we don't only have housewives, we have house husbands. Because things are changing. Where the woman could be more educated, the woman has a better paid job, the woman has a better career, the woman's job is more stable. So between the two of them, they can decide that the man will have to be the one to resign, take care of the children full time. And there's nothing whatsoever wrong with it. I have seen so many people. I travel a lot. And when you travel, you can see that between the two of them is the man that is at home and is the woman that is working. And this is an agreement between the two of you. When Apostle General came from Holland, I was the one working. And he started the ministry. When we started, I think maybe the first 2 years of the church, there was no salary, there was no income, there was no allowance. After service on Sunday, they sit right at the end of the auditorium, and they decide what the offering is going to be used for. Then we used to hire chairs, we used to hire instruments, we are paying the van that is carrying. So every Sunday, everything got finished. So then it was my salary. We never quarreled, we never had an argument. So what he was doing, in the morning, he was getting Pastor Naka and Pastor Papa ready for school. All I had to do was to have my bath and then leave. He will prepare them, get them breakfast, everything, and then drive them to school. In the afternoon, he will be the one to go for them and then drive them home. Sometimes on his way to pick them from school, he will bring me lunch. I miss those days. Oh my God. Hot lunch in a basket with a napkin on top. Oh my God. Sometimes with dessert, pancake. Oh, Jesus. So I hope you get this very, very well. I don't know if we have a few minutes to take. I think today we've gone overboard. Remember last week I promised you, in case the relationship is not working, there are too many red flags, or during the courtship you realize that it is not the will of God for both of you to get married. What do? There is a system of breaking the relationship where both of you can go your separate ways. After separating, you don't become enemies, you can still become friends. So there's a way of going through the process. I will go through the process with you, I don't know, maybe next week or after everything is done. Next week, I am coming with a panel. What will be our discussion next week? We want to find out proposal, kneeling down, lying down, sitting down, jumping, hiring a helicopter to propose. Which one is the best option? Or is it important to go on your knees to propose, lie down and propose, jump and propose, run and propose? What is the best option? Or are all the options important, good, and necessary? We will look at that next week. We also want to look at promise rings. Now, all the girls are asking for promise rings. If you propose to me, you must propose with a ring, with flowers, with chocolates, with wache, with eba, with gari photo and kebab, with moral choir singing along, or 2G choreography dancing. So we will go into this next week where the panel will discuss and look at all these things. If there is time, we would also look at courtship. How long do you court? What must be the duration? We will look at all that. We will also look at between knocking and then engagement. What should be the space between engagement and then the wedding? What will be the space? If we are done with all these things, then I will come in and then show you the steps to take when you want to end your relationship. Thank you so much. Thank you so much for joining me today. It's been another day of fun. Thank you if you are watching through Powerline TV. Thank you if you are watching through Sam Crunchy Ankra Facebook. Or thank you if you are watching through YouTube. Whatever you are watching through, I am grateful. And like I say, week after week, I think you are making me a better person. You are making me a better teacher. You are making me a better counselor. I will come your way next week. Same time, same day, Wednesday, 7 p.m. And we will look at proposal. How do you propose? What is the current way? Things are happening these days. And if you don't know what is happening in some corner, trust me, we will come and we will show you. People like Chief Apedems are lying down. People with moral choir are proposing. People are proposing on the altar. People are proposing before pastors. Others are proposing before family members. We want to see which one is best, which one is acceptable, and which one is good for you. Thank you so much. My name is Mama Rita, Mrs. Rita Crunchy Ankra. That came your way.
went an examination on obedience. And Abraham rose up early in the morning and was heading towards the place God had asked him. Many of you always want to see before you believe. Anybody who wishes to see before he believes or she believes, that person is failing the examination and the test of faith and the test of obedience. Because faith is the substance of things hoped for. It is the evidence of things not seen. So when you are talking about faith, faith is that you are believing God despite what you cannot see. The moment you want to see before you believe, you are knocked out of the ring of faith. You are not in faith anymore. Faith is to obey in spite or despite the consequences. That's faith. Take your only son, go to one of the mountains, go sacrifice him. And the guy was moving early in the morning.